Today, we're diving into something called MRKH syndrome. But here's the thing. We're not going to treat this like some dry medical textbook entry. Nope. We're going to explore it for what it really is. A deeply personal journey, one of discovery, identity, and the amazing power of finding your people.
Okay, let's start with a question that, for a lot of people, is where this whole story begins. Just imagine this for a second. You're a teenager, right? You're going through all the usual stuff of puberty, but one key thing just never happens. Your period never starts. This is so often the very first clue that leads to a diagnosis of MRKH. And that reality is captured so powerfully by activist Maddie Rose. The diagnosis hits, right at a time when you're already trying to figure out dating, sexuality, just who you are. It's news that can feel like it just pulls the rug out from under you, totally changing how you see yourself and what you thought your future would look like.
All right, so let's break down what MRKH actually is. We'll get into the medical side of things, but we're going to keep the real human experience right at the heart of it all. So at its core, MRKH is something you're born with. It's a variation in how the reproductive system develops. Basically, for people with MRKH, the uterus and the upper part of the vagina are either underdeveloped or they're just not there at all. The key thing to get is that this is all about the internal reproductive organs. Now, what's really important to understand here is what isn't affected. People with MRKH have the typical 46XX chromosome pattern. Their ovaries, they're usually there, they're working, they're producing the hormones that kickstart puberty. And that's exactly why things like breasts and pubic hair develop as expected, and why the external genitals looks typical. The one big sign, like we said, is that menstruation never begins. And look, getting a diagnosis like this can feel incredibly lonely, but it's so important to know that you are not alone. MRKH affects about 1 in every 4,500 newborns assigned female at birth. Now, that might sound rare, but think about it. That translates to thousands and thousands of people all over the world who share this experience. Okay, so MRKH isn't just one single thing. It's more of a spectrum. It's usually broken down into two main types. You've got type I, which is sometimes called the isolated form. That means the variation is pretty much just in the reproductive organs. Then there's type 2, the syndromic form. This is where MRK shows up alongside variations in other parts of the body, most often the kidneys or the spine, but sometimes it can affect hearing or the heart too.
And within type 2, there is a more complex presentation known as Merck's association. Merck's is actually an acronym which helps make sense of it. The M is for Mullerian duct aplasia, that's the underdeveloped reproductive stuff. R is for renal aplasia, so variations in the kidneys. And CS stands for cervicothoracic somite dysplasia, which is a fancy way of saying there are differences in the bones of the spine, neck, and upper back.
So, getting the medical facts is one piece of the puzzle, but the journey after the diagnosis, wow. That is a whole other story. It's really about learning to navigate this incredibly complex new emotional landscape. And the emotional weight can be immense. It's totally 100% normal to feel a whole storm of emotions. Shock, anger, a deep sense of sadness, and just feeling so isolated. A lot of people talk about struggling with this feeling of being broken, which is just a heartbreaking idea that society puts on us. And of course, there's the very real grief that can come with learning about infertility. But this is where community is an absolute game changer. This quote from Vixen Tunk from the support group MRKH Stars just says it all perfectly. Finding other people who just get it, it's life-changing. These peer support groups create a safe space where you don't have to explain anything, where you're just seen and understood. And that's why professional support, counseling, isn't just some nice extra. It's a crucial part of care. It helps not just the person with the diagnosis, but their whole family to process everything, to find healthy ways to cope, and just to navigate the journey together. So what's next? What about the future? Well, let's talk about that. And the best way to frame this conversation is not around what you have to do, but around personal choice, empowerment, and your right to decide what happens with your own body. For anyone who wants to explore having penetrative intercourse, there are a couple of main paths. The first one, and the one that's usually recommended to try first, is non-surgical. It's called vaginal dilation. It uses a set of smooth, tube-shaped dilators to gently and gradually create vaginal depth. And honestly, it works really, really well for most people. The other option is a vaginoplasty, which is a type of surgery. That's usually seen as a second-line option, maybe if dilation doesn't work out or if someone decides it's not for them. And this right here is maybe the most important takeaway of all. the final choice is yours, and only yours. Choosing to do nothing, no dilation, no surgery, is an equally valid path. Let me say that again. It is an absolutely valid and respected decision. It is your body, and you are in charge. And when it comes to the idea of parenthood, there are several different pathways to building a family. Because the ovaries are working, using your own eggs with a gestational surrogate is one possibility. Adoption is another beautiful way to become a parent. And then there's this incredible, groundbreaking option, uterus transplantation. It's still a relatively new field, but the first successful birth from a transplanted uterus was back in 2014, and it's opened up a whole new world of possibility.
You know, the journey of understanding MRKH often doesn't stop there. For many people, it leads to a much bigger understanding of human diversity as a whole. And a big part of that can be connecting with the larger intersex community. Let's bring it back to Maddie Rose's journey. For her, and for so many others, stumbling upon the word intersex was a light bulb moment. It gave them a new language, a new framework, and a whole new community that just clicked with their own lived experience. So what exactly does intersex mean? Well, think of it as an umbrella term. It's not one single condition. It's a word that describes people who are born with natural variations in their sex characteristics. We're talking chromosomes, hormones, internal organs, genitals, anything that doesn't fit neatly into the typical binary boxes of male or female. It's all about recognizing that human bodies exist on a beautiful, natural spectrum. And this quote just nails the power of that realization. Finding the intersex community helps flip the script entirely. It's a shift from thinking of yourself as having a condition that needs to be fixed to seeing yourself as part of natural human diversity, something to be respected, even celebrated. It's about moving from shame to pride. When you get right down to it, understanding MRKH is about so much more than a medical diagnosis. It's about a journey toward accepting yourself and embracing the incredible diversity of what it means to be human. You know, labels like MRK or intersex, they aren't about putting people into boxes. They're doorways. They're entry points into worlds of support, of shared stories, of people who get it. They can take shame and turn it into pride. They can give you love for a body that maybe in the past you were told was wrong. A label gives a name to your experience, and in that name, there's so much power. And so we'll end on this powerful question from Maddie Rose, which really goes way beyond any single diagnosis. This isn't just a question for the MRKH or intersex communities, it's for every single one of us. How can we all break free from the harmful expectations society puts on our bodies? And what kind of world, what kind of community do we need to build so that everyone can do that? That right there is the conversation that the story of MRK invites us all to join.